When it comes to Facebook ads, it's incredibly important to keep up to date with the very latest stuff. Changes are happening all the time, and because of some very recent Facebook ad updates, I've now changed my mind around one very specific feature.
Is he allowed to just do that?
Now, previously I recommended that you don't use it. Now I think that you should use it. Now, to demonstrate what I'm talking about, I'm in an example Facebook ad account, and I've just created a quick dummy sales campaign that I'm going to use to demonstrate this. Now, you could use this with other campaign types as well, like a leads campaign, for example. But what I'm going to do is jump into the ad set level, and then I'm going to go ahead and click edit. And then I'm going to scroll down to this section here, which says dynamic creative. Now you can see the default for this is to turn it off. I've previously recommended that you don't use it, but I'm going to go ahead and turn it on. Now, when I turn this on, you see that Meta provides a bit of information about what dynamic creative is, and I'm going to explain further on this, all right? So they're saying you can now provide creative elements such as images, headlines that will be used to automatically generate variations of your ad for your audience. They then go on to say some other things like it's not available in every single campaign type, like if you're sending people to Messenger, you can't use it, and some other things, but that's the main gist of it, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and click continue, and this is now turned on. Now, I previously recommended you didn't use dynamic creative.
Quite similar to the A/B testing at the campaign level. Can be a really, really useful tool, not something I'd recommend you use.
Because having multiple image variations, multiple headline variations and all that sort of stuff within the one ad, I felt was more complicated than we needed to make it as Facebook advertisers. I thought that we could have each ad have one image, one video, etc., one headline, all that sort of stuff, and then you can just compare the results nicely and easily between the various different options, see which one performs best and optimize and all that sort of stuff. But Facebook is now very much leading us in this direction, and they clearly got the idea from types of ads that are used in Google. So Google have these things called responsive search ads. If you're not familiar, it's where you enter in a bunch of headline options, a bunch of description options, and Google will sort of test out all the combinations and they'll work out the best performing one. And Meta has come up with its own version of this. It's not the first thing Meta has copied from Google. It certainly won't be the last, but that's what they're looking to do with these dynamic creative ads. And I think when you hear the word dynamic creative, it sounds very complicated and scary, and it's actually more simple than it looks. And I want to show you how this works and some best practices around dynamic creatives. If it's not something you've used before, perhaps you've used it but not sure you were optimized properly in getting the best possible results. Okay, so once you've got dynamic creative turned on, it's not going to change anything else at the ad set level, but it will affect quite a few things at the ad level. So if we jump over to our new sales ad and then we scroll down, obviously you just want to make sure if you see something different that you've got the same settings here, manual upload, single image of video, etc., etc. We scroll down to this ad creative section. This is what's going to change, and you can see that we can now select images, we can select videos to add in to our dynamic creative ad, where we can have multiple options that Meta is going to test for us and see which produces the best results. So I'm just going to demonstrate this quickly and upload a bunch of images of cakes. We have before ran ads for an online bakery, and some of the images were absolutely amazing. These aren't specifically of their products, I just grabbed some from online, but just to demonstrate how this works, and who doesn't like looking at pictures of cakes, right? So, okay, so I'm going to go ahead and grab some images.
Many minutes later.
Okay, so I've just gone ahead and uploaded 5 cake images, as I said, I just grabbed online, and then we can see once you add those into your ad, you can see 5 of 10. We could have added in some more. You've got a whole bunch of options. You can edit each individual one. Obviously, you would want to make sure that they work aspect ratio wise on various placements and things like that. And as you're going along, you can always click on ad preview and then start to see your ad being built out as you add in other options. But this is sort of the basic principle behind dynamic creatives. What it does to your ads is allow you to run multiple options within the one ad, as I said, and then Meta will test and see which one performs best. You'll see we've got this option under here. Once you turn on dynamic creative, you will see optimize creative for each person is automatically turned on. So it says vary your ad creative and destination based on each person's likelihood to respond. So not only are we saying Meta, go ahead and test these different creative options in conjunction with the other stuff I'm about to talk about in a minute, but you can vary that person by person. If you feel that this person's likely to respond better to this image or this video, then go ahead and do that, as opposed to just working out which one's the best performer across the board and then just going with that one all the time. I'd recommend leaving that selected. I haven't done a huge amount of testing having that on versus having it off, but I don't see much downside. I'm not exactly sure what markers Meta is using to work out person A is likely to respond to image 1, person B is likely to respond to image 4. I'm not sure exactly how they're working that out. It's probably things like linger time and stuff like that, but we know that these processes are sophisticated. This machine learning setup works, and so I would take advantage of it where you can. Okay, then we get into the primary text and the headline options. If we click into the headline to start with, we could have, if I just put in something like mouth-wateringly good cakes, right? I've got videos, by the way, on how to go about putting together headlines and primary text and how to copy other ads and stuff like that. So I'll include a link in the video description. I'm not going to cover that in detail here, but what I do want to highlight is obviously with the headline, you can go ahead and add in other options. You could be like low calorie cakes, and you could add in a whole bunch of different variations here and things in. And what that does is it effectively supercharges the variations that you can use and that can be tested and put in front of your target audience. So if we've got, you know, a whole bunch of different images or videos, and then we've got a whole bunch of different headlines, and you can do the same thing with primary text, right? So if I write primary text 1, and then we could have, you know, primary text 2 in here, and you could just start to see that when you've got multiple variations of each, how many you could actually have going out potentially to your audience. And effectively within one sort of ad unit, you're able to test dozens of different ad combinations, which saves us time as advertisers, and also I think now leads to a more seamless testing experience where we're not, as I recommended previously, testing say 5 ads at any one time, pausing on performers, adding in new ones. It's a more simplified, it's a cleaner model to use this dynamic creative going forward. So that's why I've changed my recommendation. We've done some testing around this, and the results seem to back it up.
Well, what do you think of it? It's a very unusual cake, isn't it?
The strategy that you use is the base that you layer everything else on top of. If you get the strategy wrong, nothing else is going to work. And if you've been following my Facebook ads content, but you don't have your strategy absolutely nailed, I'd strongly recommend you check out this free webinar, because there's no one size fits all, right? There's no one strategy that works for all advertisers. You need a different strategy depending on what you're advertising. Is it a $20 e-commerce product or a $5,000 service? Something in between. So we cover 3 different options that we use all the time, very much tried and tested. I'd strongly recommend you check it out, completely free. Link is in the video description below. Now, I would still not recommend you use dynamic creative if you are a complete beginner. If you've never run a Facebook ad campaign before, you've only run say 1 and you're very much in that learning testing phase, I still think this is more complicated than you need to make it. Just go with standard ads so you can easily see the variations and all that sort of stuff. But if you've run a few campaigns, you feel like you're getting the hang of it, you're starting to understand things, I do think this is worth adding in. As you've seen, it's relatively straightforward to do so, and the results that you can see from this, from our own testing, but also what Meta is really pushing, are positive. We are seeing better results from using dynamic creative than not at this point. Now, because my advice has changed on using dynamic creative, those of you who are familiar with my recommended campaign structure might be thinking, well, how does that affect how many ads you run and how many ad sets and all that sort of stuff? And it does affect all of that. So I would strongly encourage you, if you haven't already, to subscribe, hit the little bell notification so you are notified when I release my next video next week, because in that video, I'm going to be going through my ideal Facebook ad campaign structure and how that has changed with all these recent updates, and as a result of now recommending we use dynamic creative. So keep an eye out for that, because the structure is quite different, and as I said, it's really important to stay up to date with these things when it comes to Facebook ads. It changes all the time, therefore we need to change as advertisers, so make sure you keep an eye out for that video. Now, if in the meantime you want to get your teeth stuck into more Facebook ads content, I'd strongly recommend you check out this video here on my new scaling strategy. So many Facebook advertisers, when they try to scale their campaigns that were performing well previously, they don't do it the right way, and it wrecks their campaigns. It's so important to get this right, and this video will show you the right way.